All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. At 58, I guess it is. And right now we have a reading of the.
Sure. The Fundy Regional Service Commission would like to acknowledge, honor, and pay respect to the land in which it gathered. Traditional unceded is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which the Malseet, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy people first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but recognized Mi'kmaq and Malseet title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. The FRSC is committed to creating a new standard by developing meaningful nation-to-nation partnership that strengthen and honor all its relations.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, at this time, we take a record of attendance. Cassie,
I got it.
got her? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Libby, second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Approval of the minutes? So moved. That was approved by the agenda, sorry. Minutes. Moved by Jim. Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Disclosure of conflict of interest. If anyone has a conflict of interest, please state it now, or when the subject comes up and remove yourself from the room, call you back in. Okay, CEO verbal update.
Great, through the chair to the board, welcome. A few updates for you. First, on the RSC review. So you received an invitation for the 20th of November, and I wanted to give you just a little bit more context. The consultants for the RSC review have been selected. Christine Fournay. There will be this first phase of consultation is the CEO and then the senior staff. So that's what these two consultants will do on the 20th and the 21st. The focus will be, there's two components to the study. There's an RSC review questions about the rural districts. That's part of the scope of what the consultants are reviewing. There'll be a roundtable discussion on the focus of the study, what's successes, what's the challenges, major projects that are on the way or that you would like to, and then the threats that are achieving the mandates that we have. The study has not pulled out fully the next layer of engagement, which I would say is really important, but we just don't know what it is yet. They've committed to doing it, but we don't know what it sounds like. So that's like the councils, CAOs, senior staff, the committees that we have. That's still something that we're awaiting, but they have confirmed that they intend it to occur. And at least just from my perspective, this remains an awesome opportunity for us to inform what pivots, what tweaks do we need to do to the regional model for it to be so more successful. So all feedback is welcome. There will be no script or feedback or focus areas. Bring your ideas of what you want to speak about on the 20th, and hopefully we can help them build a strong RSC network for the province. The other update that I had is we are involved in regional climate planning. We meet with several of your staff at the local level. We bring them in, and we were able to access $100,000, which we want to redistribute back for the execution of. We want to do this is each community, there might be 3 communities that want, and we want collaboration and use this money to seed this kind of cross jurisdictional collaboration. So this is in the consent agenda. There is actually more detail on this, the call for proposals, and there's a deadline there, but we're going to put it out a little longer.
All right. Apologies.
Yeah. Because we want to make sure there's interests across the region. So we've extended it out. We will do $30,000 per project. Focus areas: energy efficiency, infrastructure resilience, natural systems, community climate action and preparedness. We're not looking for that much in-kind support, so you don't have to put up too much money. I think it's 10% that we're looking for, either in kind or in cash to support it. So please encourage your team to apply to this. We'd love to see this money go to the strongest projects in the region. The last update I have before I pass it on to our colleague Brenda with some updates as well is that Chair Doucette and I will be in Fredericton in next week for the FRSC network meeting. We've hosted one of these in the past. Former Chair Bedford and I participated in that. And this one's in Fredericton, so you can imagine a lot of the focus will be accessing those GNB colleagues and leaders. Conference is pretty stacked with those interactions from RDC, Premier Holt, Minister Kennedy, Minister Miles from Social Development working in B, and it will bring together all the chairs and the CEOs. Also, what's great about this conference is the continued relationship building and identifying those connection points with the association, the Association Francophone des Municipalités du Nouveau-Brunswick and the UNMB. So I suspect you'll be there, Director Merrifield, so that's great. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on the outcome of that meeting, but it will be a great opportunity.
Tough shoes to fill, Jim.
Yeah, you hosted the big show last time.
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass it on to Brenda, who's going to share a couple updates about some things that happened and things that are coming.
So first I'll start with what did happen. So this week we hosted the first ever physical activity consultation. We brought together 50 representatives from across the region, including staff from all of our communities as well. Somebody was there representing each of your communities. And then members from not-for-profit organizations, health and wellness organizations as well. The whole purpose of the consultation is for us to build, this will be the foundation of our active living physical activity plan that we're putting together, and that our new sport and rec coordinator will be overseeing, as well as building a round table. We're identifying people to help us move this project forward and implement a regional physical activity plan. It was very well received. We had excellent feedback, consultation. People were very engaged. We went through a number of different exercises with them and heard all kinds of different ideas, et cetera, that will help us build this plan. It was, and the feedback from those in attendance was overwhelmingly positive. So it was really nice. And a lot of people just said, we need to do this more often and bring people together. My second update, again, on bringing people together, is the regional summit coming up in 2 weeks from today. It is 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. again at the Trade and Convention Center. Please encourage all your council members and the RDAC members to attend. Invitations have gone out. We've also CC'd the clerk as well to help. They were instrumental last year in encouraging people to come, but we really, council members are the members we are targeting for this to come to this event. From the feedback from last time, we heard through the workshop that for the workshops, we needed more time to bring people together to really discuss and opportunities to have that feedback time. So we are having much more in-depth time in these workshops. So it's they're 45-minute sessions. We selected just a couple of the initiatives that we're doing where we're really looking for key feedback from your members. So this is, again, this opportunity to really help drive the work that we are doing forward. And then Minister Kennedy has confirmed, so he will be joining us for the dinner. We will be having a seated dinner as well. And he'll be our keynote speaker. too. So there's lots of opportunity. And again, back to this whole bringing people together. The feedback from last year was people just commented and said how much they appreciated to be able to be at the table with other counselors from across the region talking about different issues that are important to them. So we're really hoping, we're quite excited. It's shaping up. We have wonderful prizes as well from our regional facilities. I hope everybody can be there. I think it'll be a fantastic event.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you for that, Brenda. Thanks for that. That's it? All right. We need a motion. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve all the consent items there? Moved by John. Second by Brittany
On the question,
on the question.
with the regional climate action pilot and the call for proposals, we went through a fairly rigorous climate change plan within our town. And we also invited Quest to lead the way, and they are a government-funded climate change organization that assists in putting projects in place that help you to become more aware of, what you can do for mitigation and climate change effects, that sort of thing. So I'm wondering, how much are we tapping into the resources that we have already? And I ask that because we had some of our key employees involved in this climate change committee. So they are a resource in and of themselves as far as what we are doing in Crispus. So are we tapping into the resources that each of these communities have already? Because I don't want to go out and find that we may be paying for something if Quest would do it at no cost, because they are government funded.
Perhaps I'll ask Graham to respond to this. He's our resident expert in that climate. Then you've done a lot of work to bring that.
Could I ask one question, Graham? Have you contacted Quest?
Not directly about the call for proposals, but I'm well aware of that portion. In the past on other issues, I think you bring up a great point, which is around the idea that the regional climate action that we're trying to dip our toes into and build coordination around is not about taking away from that existing good work, which I know you're not necessarily implying, but rather to move towards implementation, building partnerships across the boundaries that we're so used to dealing with, and to think about new ways that we can do that. And that includes bringing, as CEO Letta mentioned, bringing staff from different communities together to talk about it, to share best practices, to work a little bit beyond where they might be locally. And there are resources like Quest on energy and mitigation. There's the Nature Trust in New Brunswick. There's all kinds of other organizations, provincially, nationally, doing great work. And we want all of that to be reflected in what's taking place in the Fundy region. And look, this isn't a big budget for these projects, but we're hoping to see some of that collaboration and action that way. And what we've done, first of all, last year was to bring every existing initiative, report, project that's taken place over the last several years in all of our communities, catalog them in one place, understand where we are and where we're going and where those common challenges and opportunities are. And so this is really based on that idea of we're going to be better at responding to this global challenge as a region rather than individually. So I think that's a great suggestion. We'll certainly reach out about what Quest is doing specifically in Wisconsin, but also they've worked in a lot of other municipalities to try to bring that in as much as possible.
Did you get, just one last question, did you receive the report, the Wisconsin's report on climate change?
Yes.
So you have that, okay.
We asked through the CAOs for either direct or then to assign the staff to basically download to us everything that they've been working on, so that we've got it all. We've got hundreds and hundreds of data points across all the communities of all the actions taking place. It's a phenomenal body of work. We're hoping to build a dashboard just to showcase how active the Fundy region is on climate change, because there's so much going on. We want to showcase that to our residents, but also the outside.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No more questions? All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried. Reports, presentations. We'll start with Phil for the budget recommendation.
Great. I won't go through the full document, but I do have some kind of, I'd like to just break down the chronology a little bit because I think it places things into context for our conversation today. Budget process started last November, essentially through the regional summit when we collected feedback on what our region wanted to do in 2025 and our regional strategy updates. In April, this board approved the timeline and criteria for us to develop that budget. And in June, we brought forward recommendations or parameters around our budget, which indicated that because of the property assessment freeze, we had to play a very cautious role in how we develop this budget, acknowledging the impact that it will have on our investors, our partners, our members. And, at the time, we were projecting a 2 to 3% increase in the budget at that time. In August, we presented that to the CAOs to say that's what we were aiming for. In the end, in the August budget proposal, we were able to introduce a budget with a net decrease of $78,000. That doesn't mean that everybody received a decrease in membership fees, but that was the initial budget that we used. But it was evident within the 45-day review that was just not enough. This regional facilities capital challenge that we face was very pronounced within this budget cycle, and we needed to come up with a plan to respond to that. How we responded to that was kind of a twofold, a two approach. One was to see if we can access additional relief funding from RDC, which looked very promising to alleviate some of the burden of the 2026 expectations. And then second was to get this commitment, former clear commitment from the minister about the department's ability to help us through the challenges we face with regional facilities capital. So for the minister, we got a letter, and I think what's most pronounced is that he's committing to supporting us in a practical and sustainable solution. None of us, I believe, thought we were going to get the solution through this interaction with the minister. It was more so a commitment to stick with us and to work with us through the solution. For the RDC funding, we are still in consideration for it. It's still a great application from their perspective. I believe something happened provincially in the last month, which is it was kind of a halt on all 2026 commitments that I understand came from the top because of the financial situation the province finds himself in. So we'd applied before that statement was made or that email or call, and so it's still in consideration, still could be approved. For us, there's one more piece that we did as part of this as well, is we also asked the city to reconsider its capital project submissions for 2026. We said, listen, one last check. Are any of these deferrable? Are any of the 2026 proposals deferrable? Tell us why. Let's not compromise life safety, but tell us what it is so that I could have brought this back to you today and said, hey, these two are. If that were to have happened, they would have given me a percentage of how much more it would have cost next year, because as soon as you delay something, there's a price tag for the following year. There were no candidates for that because, as you all know, at a local level, your asset renewal program never achieves what it actually wants to do. So they're just picking the top priorities. They're not doing everything. They're just taking the highest priority items. So the implications of those that they selected for 2026 either are life safety related or would have a major impact on operations. So they did not come back with that, but we did flip that rock. For us, what I call it ideal or unideal, we always sort of had a backup plan for our budget, which is that we had an availability of over $400,000 one-time RSSF. So because we were waiting for RDC for this funding, we'd already placed a number out there of what that reduction would be. This budget that's being proposed today essentially requests that we take that additional one-time funding. There's still some available for next year. And we place it against the budget this year. And, you know, I like the word that Vice Chair McKenzie used, which is it's sort of a bridging the gap for this year until we have a more practical and sustainable resolution on regional facilities capital. So we couldn't do this every year, but it can be done this year. So here are my key takeaways before we open it up. So this budget upholds the delivery of the Fundy Regional Strategy adopted by the board, reviewed by this region. It upholds the delivery of the 2026 work plan. It upholds the budget criteria that was approved by this body. This budget also will continue to encourage the FRC, the board, its committees, its partners and local communities to come together and drive regional impact and value for the residents of the Fundy region. And this budget, initially thought to deliver an average 3% increase on membership fees, now proposes an average of 3.25 reduction on membership fees. The last thing I wanted to share was the resolution itself, because it is a little complicated. And I thought I would just share a little commentary on it. The way the resolution is drafted is essentially that we would approve this budget. However, if RDC approves the funding that we've submitted, we would use the RDC funding in less of the RSSF funding, because that RSSF funding is transferable to next year. And it would be something good to have in a scenario of our continued costs as an organization. So it doesn't mean that it's a conditional approval. It just simply grants myself and the organization the ability to say, hey, we've got this RDC funding. We can just replace that RSSF application for it, and we save that funds for a future year. With that, I'll open it up for feedback or questions.
Any comments or questions? Debbie?
Yeah, I'm happy that we have the RSSF funding. The unfortunate thing, and I totally understand that this is being viewed by Minister Kennedy, and hopefully we'll come to, you know, a solution that won't have us dipping into the funds that are available to us. What that does, if we look at the 12 regions, and if everyone has RSSF funds, they are able to take on initiatives that put us behind, because we don't have that money to put towards something else. We are the only ones that are paying into these capital costs. So that puts us at a deficit, and I think it's an unfair deficit. So I really and truly hope that the minister moves forward with some sort of a solution for the capital costs for this region. Because every time we take money away from funding that we have applied for, whether it's RDC or RSSF, it's not moving us ahead. It's just either keeping us at the playing field that everybody starts with, but they're getting further ahead of us because they have that money to put towards other initiatives. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Jim?
This has been probably the hardest budget in my time here, to get approval from my council.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've made it quite clear for the last 3 years that we need to continue to push to eliminate the capital costs. And I think that needs to go on record, that we continue not to give up the battle, but we need to push the Minister Kennedy to eliminate that capital cost. That, as my colleague here mentioned, that frees up a lot of money that we can be doing within our community. So again, I just want to make sure that stays on the record, that we continue to push to eliminate that capital.
Nancy?
And I totally agree. I think that the basic unfairness of the capital costs on the regional facilities in this region needs to be, that cause needs to be continually advanced to the province until a solution is found. But I'm happy that we do have some money to offset this budget. And so I think my council would support this with the proviso that we continue the, argument with the province against the Capital One regional facilities, or at least, continue the, argument that a solution be found to these costs.
Anybody else? Answer questions? Basically, so somebody want to make we're gonna have the motions.
Move this.
What are we moving this here first?
Let's do the first one, the approval of the budget, the 2/3 majority.
Yeah. So, Libby is approving this, John is seconding this, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Raise. Thank you all. Budget pass, great.
The next one is,
Yeah.
I'll name it three.
Yeah, sure.
The next resolution is to adopt the updated standard operating procedure salary grid for management and trades employee groups, as that went in the report. And then maybe we do this omnibus with this next one, authorize Chair Rob Doucette to resubmit and finalize the regional services support fund investment plan, which integrates the new assumptions outlined in the report.
Somebody want to make that motion? Moved by John, second by Nancy. Question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Okay, that's good for that part of it? Yeah, for you? Yep, we're good. Okay, thank you for that. Let's move on to enhancement project, Graham.
One of our gifts.
Yeah. Yeah. And to all presenters are, you have 10 minutes today. That's it.
All right. Well, maybe it's good that somebody isn't here.
Cassie's hardlining us today.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, if you want to call up the presentation.
Yeah, attempting, I apologize.
No, that's all right. I'll intro a little bit while we do that. So we're here today presenting the results of essentially the first phase of the Canada Games Aquatic Center newest study, I should say. For many of you familiar, we won't get into too many details about the road that led here because I want to focus on giving time to our presenters and the consultants present with us today. We were intending to have the City of St. John through Samir Yamin introduce a bit of the city's portion of this. He was going to come in person, but maybe he's running behind. We'll fill in that gap, I'm sure, nicely once we get that presentation up. But we do have Anna Jessam and Stephen Kopp from Acre Architects and Ricardo Duke from MJMA joining us virtually, who will walk through the results of Phase A as well. Just quickly summarizing the first slide. As you know, we engaged MJMA and Acre Architects based on St. John, of course, for those familiar. There's been visits to other aquatic centers by the City of St. John staff. And we've been refining the scope of work that will be discussed in the presentation as well. That includes meetings with Canada Games staff, including those who took part in the organizing of the St. John's Canada Games this year, and understanding a debrief of what the road they took was, the challenges along the way, what the feedback from the sport bodies there were about what makes a good facility and the challenges they face. And there, I was talking for you, but I was just saying where we are today. So if you want to maybe jump into, once you sit down, the construction management piece and where we are with that, then we'll pass it off to our consultant. I'll just mention while you get that out that we're of course working closely between the city and the FRSC, and it's on funding opportunities. It's of course of utmost importance to not only work with RDC, but ACOA and Heritage Canada and anyone else who's got potential pocketbooks that we can access for this project, and making sure that we're lining up our scope of work and all the pieces to get where we need to be.
You already spoke on today.
Yes, yeah.
I just want to add one more thing. I don't know if you did, we did hire a project manager.
That's right.
So the person is not available today, but I think maybe his name is Jeff Rogers, and I believe he'll be a good asset for us very much here. He's familiar with very much with the construction management and the work need to be done at the aquatic center, and he's very excited actually to move forward on this project, to see the benefit of this project. Action plan, no action plan forward, like as Graham indicated now, this is the first time the city of St. John will use this model. Construction management to complete such work. Usually in the past, we usually the regular standard processing, stuff like that here. And then we engaged after, but there's a lot of benefit for us because we are on a time schedule here. We need to meet the February, not the February, the June 30th, 2028. And also we want to make sure that our budget, we meet the proposed budget, or even though we can reduce capital costs on this project. So we feel that engaging a CM construction management company early in the process, I see will be great benefit to all of us, to the project, and there's a great benefit. And we've seen it there, working with other municipality who actually took similar action like that, and they did explain to us that this is going to be very benefit for you guys, especially working on some kind of retrofit project on existing retrofit compared to new construction. So we are in the process of finalizing the RFP right now, and I'm hoping to get it out by the end of this year, end of this month. We already have spoken to early in some of the contractors who are interested in this type of work. So this will give us early involvement, working on this project here. Get down to the business, working closely with our design team, working closely to identify any risk, to identify what are the labor capacity available there, and what cost benefit can we provide on us. They're always construction management, they always have opportunities, they understand the area, they understand where we should be moving, what area we should be looking at. So there's a lot of opportunity for us. It's a good collaboration between us, identifying risks, what are the mitigation strategies. So these are very, really good benefits for us. So we're excited to move in this direction.
Great.
Move to the next
Thanks,
one here.
I think, it's still.
It's still going.
Action going on. I know MGMA and Acres gonna talk about it. We are moving rapidly on the schedule. So the project is moving forward very fast right now. Phase A is completed. We are working on phase B. We are taking more proactive approach right now. We are starting working on the one-stop shop at the city of St. John. We are working also with the fire prevention to ensure any issue. We don't want to wait till the end and start seeing issue coming back. We are learning a lot from our lesson learned here, and we're gonna keep them working every time. Anytime we have design document and drawing, we're gonna keep providing update here and so on. So we are proactively working on this project. This is a complex project. Now we're gonna move with phase B, which is mostly the concept design, which give us more insight on what project we need to be done and what now we should wait, stuff like that here, and give us more accurate construction on this one here. And as Graham indicated, we're working to get more funding if available on other projects on this one here. So I think this is our last slide,
Yep.
and then
We'll pass it on to our virtual guests.
Ask them to do that stuff. Online.
They are. So Anna, Stephen, Ricardo, if you want to jump
All
in
right.
now.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. And my name is Stephen Komp, a partner at Acre Architects, an architect here in St. John. I'll be joined with Anna Jessam, fantastic architect as well with us, and then Ricardo Duke today in Montreal from MGMA. So we'll I know you've got a timeline, so we'll try to keep it tight. But yeah, like Samir said, this is it is a complex project, but one that we think is super impactful, and we're super excited to be a part of it. So we've kind of outlined some slides to kind of communicate, I guess, an update to you, to kind of walk you through. So if you can go to the next one. For those who don't know us, we're Acre Architects, and our mission is to help change the world by creating 100 transformational stories by the year 2030. And we firmly believe like this is going to be one of them for multiple reasons. MGMA, our partner on this, recreation community aquatics experts across Canada, completely fantastic and in fantastic hands. We're partnering on multiple projects with them. The one on the left you can see is a big pool facility in Riverview, New Brunswick, and that's it in construction right now. Pool and gym and community center. So really what we want to do today is just run through the opportunity of this project as we see it. The scope of work, like Samir said, is really, what we're coming out of phase A and into phase B, really important. Project costs, of course, are always important. And of course, timeline, because this is 2029 Canada Games. So really the opportunity here, which is fantastic, the Canada Games, we're super excited it's coming to New Brunswick. And really what we have to do here, the key is get this facility ready for that. And the rules and the competition's changed since this building was built. So they have a standard of excellence that we have to meet in the building. So enhanced experience for the public and athletes, also key to that, because this is a public event, which is fantastic. And then really community legacy beyond 2029. And of course, this is our collective region. So this is a fantastic asset for the region itself. So we want to make sure that we're thinking about that as we're helping get it ready for Canada Games. And then in line with that, long-term sustainability and the zero carbon pathway, which is really in line with the region and St. John's goals. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna to walk through a little bit more.
Hi, everyone. So we dove right into the project, and phase A was where we started. Right now we're working into phase B, which is when concept design. So we're working with real designs. But at this point, we were doing scoping out of what the project should be based on that opportunity and the project goals. So we start off with a work plan to develop what the scope of work, where the interventions would take place, where major renovations would be required, or potentially additions of the building. We did a preliminary technical review, so lots of walkthroughs, looking through lots of drawings from 1985 and later when the building was built and the subsequent renovations. We had some preliminary stakeholder review, so key to that was meeting with the Canada Games Technical Committee and Swim Canada. And then also we've been looking at the low carbon pathway development to meet the carbon neutral goals. And we've done some order of magnitude construction cost estimation and looked at different ways to approach the construction phasing for the project. So the next slide. Can we go to the next slide? Thanks. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So we started from a project scope point of view. When we responded to an RFP, there was a scope of key items for us to investigate and look at. There were a list of the real necessary upgrades that we needed to do in order to achieve the compliance for the Canada Games. There were some additional upgrades which really would enhance the facility to host and also contribute to the legacy infrastructure here. And then there were some aspirational upgrades. And we also looked at some additional scope related to the condition of the building as well. So we'll go to the next slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Ricardo.
Thank you, Anna. So these next slides, they are actual diagrams. They're really taking on the previous slide that Anna talked about in terms of the scope of work and kind of drafting up an approach to this project. So these are not drawings, these are concepts. So, here, what we're seeing here is the entrance level. As we know, St. John has a lot of topography. We enter this building from the top, so from the upper level. And so what we're trying to do here is really create a dedicated, expanded entrance to the facility. We think that this will enhance the arrival experience for everyone, for both the public and the users. And we're also expanding this floor with a spectator seating down to below to the competition pool down below. And we're renovating the fitness center, but we can look at this a little bit closer afterwards. So the next slide, we're looking down. We're moving to the lower level. So this is the actual natatorium level. So in here, we're looking at upgrading the change rooms. So completely new change rooms with male, female, and universal change rooms. A new suite of leisure pool tanks, complete with new accessibility requirements, and upgrades to the competition pool as well, and lifeguard staff quarters upgrades as well. So this is a sort of a high level kind of overview of the approach. We then broke this down in the next slide into several intervention zones. So how we tackle the project, how we tackle this renovation. If we move on to the next slide. Yes, so these are different types of interventions. So zone A is the main entrance, as we talked about. They're going to be an expanded entrance, but more importantly, we're actually creating a new elevator and a new stair. So new circulatory system throughout the facility, which will greatly improve accessibility throughout. Zone B, we're looking at the external arrangement and the parking layout as well. Zone C, as I mentioned before, we're adding the spectator bleacher seating on this level with views down to below to the competition pool below. And Zone D is the fitness center renovation. So new finishes essentially for that area there. Zone E down below is the leisure pool area of the natatorium. So new pool tanks in there. Zone F, the new change rooms. Zone G is the sort of upgrades to the competition pool with a new bulkhead and a new pool gutter around the perimeter, and also retiling the pool deck. Zone H is the upgraded retractable bleacher seating. So this is a requirement for Canada Games to have 400 seats for athletes. So we're looking into that. And Zone I, which are meeting rooms, current meeting rooms there, which are not currently accessible. So we're making them accessible with the elevator, allowing a connection to those rooms. And Zone J is sort of more like aquatic staff area, so renovations into sort of the lifeguard area and whatnot. And Zone K, finally, which is in the basement, is a complete new filtration system for the new leisure pool tanks, which is the Zone A immediately above. Zone E. So that's sort of the scope of intervention. The next slide. What we've done, we've kind of costed all of these separately to have a better understanding of the cost for each of these zones. And, the resulting cost right now sits at north of $22 million. And this is construction costs, so hard construction costs. It does include, given that we're so kind of high in the level of detail, we're including a 30% design contingency at this point, because obviously we don't know all the details of the project. We're really flying really high. So we've added a 30% design contingency in there. A few other items that we're looking at, excluded prices down below, that we're still looking into bringing into the project or not. So that's the next slide. We're looking at project schedule. I think as Samir mentioned, we're right now we've finalized phase A, which is the engineering evaluation and project planning, so sort of the conceptual level of the project. And we're now actively working through the concept design. Looking at this with all our consultants, mechanical, electrical, and structural, and starting to add more detail to the project. Today we're here doing this update, and we will have another update in the new year, early in the new year, when we start kind of, once we have a little bit more detail on this concept design, we can bring that back to you and show you that. And then, so we're planning to wrap up the sort of the detailed design in June 2026 and hand it over to the CM contractor, which will then take 24 months. Well, there's a 24-month window for construction, and that needs to be discussed in terms of, we're still kind of talking about whether it's a partial close down or a full close down. That will have impact on the schedule, although the window is set. The 24-month window is set with a completion date to June 2028. And I believe that's the last slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen and Anna, for that presentation. Certainly a lot of information, densely packed for those seeing for the first time. So I don't know if we're going to discuss.
It's discussion.
Any comments or questions to the presentation?
Yeah, just say that there is a lot of information back there. We're going to send that out to everybody. So
Good.
because I noticed there was some people trying to get some pictures. Seems to me that it's really well organized, well thought out, and looking forward to the results.
Sure. I will say that we've been meeting regularly about this project since MJMA and Acre began to work, and they've been very good at working with us, with the City of St. John's team, to get to this point. So the thoroughness that you see here is just a snapshot of what's been going on behind the scenes to get us to this point.
If I may just add one more thing is, we do have a website created for the project on the city's website. It's a Shape Your City. And what it does is it brings all this information up whenever we get new updates. And ultimately, this will become really important as we get into construction phases, if there's delays or impacts on servicing. And this will likely get expanded to the broader region as well, so that we can build familiarity with it. So it's been built, the template is there, and it has been used successfully in the past to help engage. So it might be something that we link up to each members' own socials and websites as well.
Great.
Yeah, just a couple comments before.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an exciting project. Like, scope of work and the design and the construction of this building is gonna be will long for a long time, for all long generations. We all be gonna be proud of this project. Exciting project. There's gonna be so more additional programming done in it, more community involvement. The second thing on the cost here, the cost as you see, but however, we still there's some additional costs we have to include as part of this one, and this is still under investigation. And I just want to caution you on this here. There's still some things we won't know until we engage the CM, and then we have more information on the cost from the CM based on their experience, based on them working with different trade and so on. The last one here regarding whether we're gonna shut down facility or partially shut down, this is still under discussion right now. And we also will have better idea when we hire the CM, and he will give us more idea how feasible it is to completely shut it down or partially shut down. And I do understand the impact will be on the people, on the operation there, even though on the public who are really using the facilities.
All right.
Just one comment on what Samir has said. The fact that there are additional or will be additional costs. I know any project that we go into, we project what the cost we hope will be, or perhaps coming under budget. But what kind of safeguards are there in place for the communities that are helping to fund this? Because I think it's really important to know exactly what the commitment is of the federal and provincial government as far as increased costs over time. Are they going to increase their funding over time? You know, if we go right now with the ask and tell us that they're going to fund X number of dollars, and then we find out it's going to be plus that X number of dollars, who is that going to fall upon?
Just can I, and this is really a very good question. There's no question really. I mean, the area, how are we gonna control it? We have a project manager, we have a working team, so we'll be working closely with this CM, we'll be working closely with the design to see if any mitigation we need to take in order to mitigate this increased cost. So we'll be watching it on a regular basis throughout the project. And the second thing, we've been, as Graham indicated in the beginning, that we are working with RDC right now. And RDC understand that the cost might change. And why did they ask us here is please keep us in loop on the cost, how the cost is going. And we did explain to them during our last meetings that the cost may change, go up or go down, and they do understand that here. So far, based on my last conversations, so they did ask us to please keep us updated on the costs here. I mean, we're gonna go like conceptual design. Phase B will give us a C, class C estimation, which is class C estimation, which is plus or minus 10%. Then when we start working on the design, we're gonna go into class B, which is close to 5%. So by next year, June, we will have clear idea on final cost of that.
We are class C right now.
We are class B, we are moving to class C. I'm project. And
Yeah, it's difficult to see, but that timeline slide had, which will circulate, has those milestones mapped out for those different investments.
yeah, one more thing here is to you, Phil, to everybody, we cannot stop the project. Now we have the project phase A, phase B, we need funding to continue with the design. It's important. We don't want to wait.
Yeah.
So I do ask you on that very much here. We have a deadline we need to meet, so we cannot stop.
I just had a question. I noticed in the slide that you'd be looking for some funding through FCM. Is that through the Green Municipal Fund?
Yes.
Comments or questions? Thank you very much for the presentation. We entertain a motion to receive and file. Moved by John, second by Jim. Favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Mark, you're on. Good morning.
Right. Gonna try and get a refocus here after that presentation. You all know me and swimming. You got 9 minutes to leave? Okay, great.
Nothing personal.
No, hey, I'll do it in 1 minute. You ready to vote now? I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is about the solid waste action plan, which, we presented conceptually both in June or sequentially or in January and then sequentially into June of this year. The board is very supportive, so I put something material out with how the strategy would look and sent out an email at the end of August, so it was August 25th with a link for your review, and it was reflective of what I had presented in January and July. Got some feedback, because if you remember, the context of the strategy was not to predetermine any projects for the future, but to engage members of the public in helping on our steps forward, identifying core strategic targets for 5 years at a time over a 15-year period, and taking those and just kind of trying to take steps forward using net carbon zero as our decision-making tool. That being said, I got feedback and people said, geez, Mark, we still want to see some of your vision of the future. So I appreciate that. And also some people wanted maybe some targets, at least conceptually. I did put in a couple specific ones. So as far as the future goes, I laid that out in the package, just kind of went through how I envision each of the departments to kind of look in the future. And then as far as targets go, I picked diversion. I use diversion as kind of the main target getter because if you remember, we have an order in council since the inception of the landfill that requires us to have diversion as one of our things. And so we have two strategic things that we've talked about in the past. One is about having limits on garbage. St. John just went through the waste boiler program. Hampton already has it. But using that, and we can access about 1,500 metric tons of material using that as a system. And then the ICI sector, which you guys know, we don't in the province we don't penetrate well, let alone in St. John. But if using a tiered fee system, we might be able to get engagement on that side and be with target 2,500 metric tons because they represent about 2/3 of our waste, and there's lots of low-hanging fruit there. So that's kind of the targets, a little bit of a specific dream, and then I talk about some general targets in the report as well. But ultimately, this is just an add-on. I'm asking for approval of the solid waste action plan so that I can formalize the document and present it to you in the near future with the pretty graphics and everything else. Maggie, she wasn't working. And that's about it. So looking for a motion to approve the solid waste action plan as presented.
So moved.
Thank you.
Moved by Brittany, second by Libby.
Yeah.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Carried. Thanks, Mark.
That was like 5 minutes going back.
Not bad.
You know, right now, I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna get checked.
Okay, let's move it on to procedural bylaw.
Yeah, through the chair, two members of the board. We have a proposed updated procedural bylaw for you today. We do have legal counsel with us online. It's pertinent to review these procedural bylaws on a regular basis, make sure they're responsive to the needs of the organization, upholds the values and goals that we have. This one was developed with kind of three different buckets. One is we did review the code of conduct and email use policy of the Rural District Advisory Council, which we did not refer to in the past versions. Bylaws used by various professional bodies regarding their management and sanctions, and then our own experience rating using procedural bylaw over the last year. A variety of changes are being proposed. They're outlined in the report, and the updated version is available to you there. And if there's any questions, we have our legal counsel here for us. The recommendations to adopt the procedural bylaw outlined in the attached report.
Move the recommendation.
Moved by John, second by Nancy. Question on this motion? Yeah.
By way of background, the procedural bylaw that was in place back in November was non-compliant with the legislation. It was an amendment done in February. It was better, but it still wasn't compliant with the legislation. This third version, to point out a couple of things that are benefits, but also point out some of the issues I have. First of all, I believe that there's some confusion between member and representative. And I'd like to see the definition of representative, which is in the definitions. Oh, before I start on that, I just want to comment on the fact that the last version was really easy to understand because the changes were in red. And the other version was given to us so that we could compare. This one, it's not marked in red. We're very difficult to compare. And I believe the statements of the CEO are understated. There are some serious issues in this bylaw that need to be addressed. So I think representative should include a director, because as you realize, a member of the board is not us as individuals. Member is the entity that we represent. We sit here by version of the act as directors, and I'd like to see Alana include directors under representatives, so that's clear. There is now a provision for a process, an intermediate process, which is excellent. Kudos for doing that. That has not existed up until today. It's called for in the regulation. Regulation 2024-50 requires that process, and I congratulate the drafter for bringing that and putting that in. There are a number of issues with this. And I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read it and compare it with the regulation. It is a daunting process, but 5.11.3, for instance, thank you, is been amended, and Alana is to be congratulated on picking that up. The fact that under the existing bylaw, confidentiality on these complaints ends when the report is filed. There's no more confidentiality after that report is filed, which means that the complainant and the affected person are free to discuss the complaints, discuss the process, discuss the documents, discuss the fact that a certain person made those complaints. So that confidentiality ends when that report is filed. And now, but I assume you drafted this, and I assume you drafted this and not somebody else, but you said, and thereafter. So you now covered confidentiality from A to B. The 5.11.4 talks about a complainant being excluded from all board discussions and from voting. The prohibition from voting is in the regulation, so that's compliant. The excluding the affected person from board discussions, though, raises some issues, some charter issues. I mean, even murderers are entitled to attend their own trial, to hear the closing and opening statements. And I do believe that that could be challenged by charter argument. Nowhere is the charter mentioned in here, and it should be, since it is the paramount legislation in Canada. The 5.11.5 allows the chairperson to redact the name of the complainant, which in effect allows complaints to be made anonymously. And it really is a tenet of fundamental justice that you need to know who's making the complaint, so that you can defend yourself. I think that needs to be changed.
You got a couple minutes here, right?
Pardon?
You only got 2 minutes left. Okay,
You cut me off?
you get 10 minutes, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, not yet.
I'm not, it's not a presentation.
Okay.
This is on the.
We have to make the motion before he goes in. Yeah. Okay,
Well, we don't, because we have a quorum.
no, he made the motion. He has to be here.
Oh. Okay. The, 5.11.5, if anybody's following along. There is a report. That is, a report of the investigator that must be provided to the complainant and to the affected person. That was in the original bylaw to be presented, never was in my case, but it's now changed either verbally or in writing. I believe that should be in writing. And it's a very important document. But the most important objections or issues are 5.11.6, which Phil really didn't draw attention to, but 1X or 9 talks about providing notice to the affected members related entity of the member's conduct requesting a temporary permanent replacement. That's contrary to the legislation. You know that. I think Jim wrote to the minister asking that I be replaced. Minister wrote back and said he could not break the law. That Jim was asking him to break the law by having a replacement, permanent replacement.
Point of order. I believe that's a little vexatious towards one of our members to say that he asked a minister to break the law. I don't think, Jim, that
Okay.
you used those words. I think.
He did not
policy
use those
is in
words.
place.
What he did was he asked that I be replaced. And the
The point of
minister
order
wrote
was
back.
called and
Yeah.
the chair needs to deal with it.
Yeah, so the point of order was that,
I retract that.
he retracts.
What I'm saying is, the effect of what Jim did was to ask the minister to contravene the law, which requires that the chair of the RDAC sit at this table. The big one, the red flag should go off, the big one on X, requiring the affected member of their related entity to refund reasonable costs incurred by the commission. I suspect that your codes of conduct do not contain anything like this. In fact, I could not find anything like this in any other service commission. And I doubt in Canada there is anything that will penalize a member or a director from defending himself against a code of conduct complaint. Now, what this means is if anybody here is alleged to have committed a contravention of the code, they may be subject to a penalty in excess of $40,000. And that should be a real concern for all of you, because what it allows the board to do is sanction you in such a way that it put your life savings, your car, your home at risk, because there's no cap on reasonable costs. And what we've seen so far, and I imagine Bill at some point will tell us what the bill is for
Okay.
the date.
So we need to go, to the vote on this. There's a motion on the table to adopt the Alana, do you have any comments or questions?
I do not. Our firm stands behind the redrafting of the bylaws as presented. In respect of Director Adele's comment on a reasonable cost referral back to a sanctioned party, that is a sanction following finding of guilt. The support for that is found in a number of professional body organizations where if the professional body, individual member of the professional body is found guilty of a sanction, they can be assessed cost. We also recognize that that is a very serious and very meaningful sanction. And I think that the board would have the cognizance to only apply that sanction when it was duly required. The bylaws, as provided for in the code of conduct and the regulations, is not an exclusive list. You do have the ability to adopt sanctions that you think are appropriate. It is not exclusive. So you do have the capacity to do it. There is precedent for it. And so again, we would stand by the drafting of the bylaws as presented. Excuse me, I'm quite sick right now, so I have a terrible voice. And would recommend the repeal of the existing bylaws, which is why there's no black line. This time you are repealing your prior bylaws and adopting brand new bylaws.
Great, thank you.
Just one comment on that is that the difference between a professional body like the Bar Society that does this and this body is we are a creature of statute, and you must find authority in legislation to do this, and there is no statutory requirement. Are you cutting me off?
Yes, I am. There's a motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. See you, John. Right, moving on. So, oh yeah, thank you, Alana. You can head around. Go take a pop drop.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, bye-bye. Solid waste engagement, Mark, again.
So again, back in July, kind of at the same time that we were considering the bylaw, if you remember, we were doing something novel in the sense that what we're trying to do is engage the public in process as opposed to kind of pre or post process like a console. So the idea here is to generate a committee that will do a scoring based on the zero waste philosophies of the Stride 2040 action plan, and do a scoring and with the objective to make recommendations to the board to populate the work plan on an annual basis. Aside from that, also to use this engagement committee to establish the principles of each of the 5-year portions of the strategic plan. So this is quite novel. And again, you know, we use the strategic plan, or the strategic action plan was developed out of review of a number of top line programs. And ultimately the goal of this committee within that plan is to, you know, help the board set the direction with what is really a focus group on public feedback. So and utilizing the net zero concept as kind of the basis of that. So it really is kind of novel, and then it's an engagement opportunity with the public. So we typically have done stuff in the past a little differently. It's come through operations. At least some of the stuff that will populate the work plan in the future with will come from this consultation process.
Thank you.
And on that, I piggyback the most of the other terms of reference.
Right. Thank you. Any comments or questions, Mark? If not, there's a resolution there. If somebody like that. Oh,
No, I'll approve the resolution.
I'll second.
moved by Jim, second by Brittany. Question on his motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Carried. Thank you, Mark. What's that?
And then he did that one in 3 minutes.
Yeah, not bad. That's not,
He knows
this is
we're
not
running-
normal.
He knows we're running behind.
You guys are very receptive today.
So we'll move on to the goals and KPIs from Graham.
We may, just as, we have a presenter here, he's not here yet. Graham can do the presentation, but if it is acceptable to the board, we might do 5.1 first, see if that gives a little bit more time. This won't take a lot of time,
Okay.
but might give a little bit more time. So maybe Graham, you can set up proactively just in case our presenter that's not here in time. Is that okay with the?
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Today, Andrew sent his regrets. He was going to give a quick update, but he did submit a memo, and I'm happy to just give a quick review of it. We did have one of our action items in our work plan this year. I kind of work with partners to develop policies and procedures for local communities to encourage the support of Canadian products, services, and goods. And if you recall, when we developed our work plan in early 2025, tariffs was the thing that we heard way too much of, and we are still hearing about it today. But this was really top of mind for our members. So I had asked Andrew to put together a little bit of summary of how Envision has tackled this for us, and the use of these kind of local government specific bylaws or procedures was sort of replaced by a variety of other efforts that you can see in the summary. Most notably, the province has taken on during this tariff challenge, the federal government and the province have taken on the review of the Procurement Act to allow for greater cross provincial trade and to improve the Canadian economy, the Buy Canadian kind of model. In addition to that, you can see the work that Envision has had with its partners in terms of this buying local, buying Canadian product effort. So this is really just a summary of what's been done on that. It's not exactly bylaw updates, but that's because it wasn't necessarily seen as a need. I believe that's all that I have to share on that item.
Receiving file?
Yep. Motion to, any questions on that report? Motion to receive and file. Moved by Libby, second by Jim. All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried. All right. Back to Andrew again, Eric.
And go to Graham.
Well, I mean, Andrew. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I can call both.
My bad. Okay.
Great, so, as all of us are aware, well, first of all, I don't know if I can do 3 minutes. That's quite a
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, that's the new effort for operational.
Yeah.
We've obviously been working under our current, regional strategy now since 2023, and established a number of goals, actions for our new mandates, a number of areas, and outlined suggestions at the end, for those that recall, how we might measure and articulate those. That being said, it's taken until recently for us to embark on not only refining what that might look like, but moving towards a real dashboard, if you will, so that we can put not only in our annual report, but on our website and distribute amongst our board the actual articulation of what the measurable outcomes of that regional strategy are, what the value of the RSC is for the Fundy region, and how we improve and change year over year, establishing metrics and moving over there. So through that process, earlier in the year, we engaged Inkwell Research and Strategy to help us through this process of evaluating those goals, looking at the regional strategy and the update that recently took place, and establish quantitative and qualitative targets so that we can look at not only the areas where we report currently, such as budget expenditures or number of permits issued in the areas that we offer those services, or the great measures that are included in the new solid waste strategy, but also those more qualitative ones, the ones that we haven't had the opportunity to work through yet. So I'm going to talk through this and hope that that doorbell is our presenter. So we talked a little bit already about what slide, how we got here. And I think that we've really talked on what the advantages of this would be. So the process has been going over our existing regional strategy with our senior staff. We've had some management team meetings as well with Alan there as I introduce some of the slides. And looking at how these can evolve over time, as we understand that there are new tasks and accountabilities that we've certainly seen in the past, but they could evolve in the future as well. So we want to prepare a series of outcomes that can be measured across changes moving forward. Our goal is to present this to you here today. At the board of director level, we'll be taking this to our committees as well, because as you'll see, this looks at not only overarching corporate KPIs, but also ones for individual mandate service areas. All going well, we can look to approve this at the December meeting of the board, and then move forward and having a dashboard immediately after that that takes these measures and puts them in the public eye in front of the board on a regular basis, has a schedule for when they're updated, and we can do a better job of articulating how we're growing, changing, and providing value for everyone in the funding system moving forward. So you're doing a great job.
Here, I'm just gonna grab your weapon.
Yeah, of course.
So when you think about KPIs for the, the Bundy Regional Service Commission, it's a tough job, actually. You can tell that this is version 7 of the deck. And we kind of struggled a little bit because of the nature of the organization. It has some things that it has direct accountability for: solid waste management, community planning for the Bundy Rural District, and the Rural District and Bundy St. Martin's. And then other things that has indirect influence on. So it's not fair to assign, in theory, you would say, well, we want to reduce the number of unhoused people in the region, therefore that should be a KPI, but FRSC doesn't really have the capacity to do that. So it wouldn't be fair to hold them accountable for that. So what we try to do is blend accountability metrics that are reasonable and that are appropriate for the organization. So that's kind of where we've started from. So the customer facing ones, which are solid waste and community planning, have numerical KPIs. Some of the other ones have more qualitative ones. As this is really the first year of the exercise, we need to establish some baseline metrics, and we've recommended a couple surveys to do that. And then kind of see where things are now and then build targets based on it, because you always want to be moving forward progressively. And again, we would survey the board and committees annually as part of this. This would be a key measure to give you the opportunity to give your influence directly back on the performance as it relates to, advocacy, funding, service enhancements, eliminating obstacles within regional collaboration and so forth. So, obviously you will have a direct say in that beyond the kind of management of the organization overall. And feel free to kind of jump in with any questions here. Yes.
There's a review being carried out currently. Is that going to be married into what the research that you were doing? Are you going to kind of take that and assimilate it, or?
It would be separate, I think, Phil, from my perspective, but.
Yeah, I think at this stage, we want to create a benchmark that's adaptable and related to the current format. So once we do have that, we don't just restart. We say, well, these are the tweaks we'd have to do to it. And you'll notice with some of the KPIs, it's just too early to place hard, solid KPIs on some. So we're going to be using very broad base, which would be consistent regardless of tweaks of what's in and what's out. But yes, ultimately, this will adapt according to the outcome of the RSC review.
Any other questions? So we'll talk about the goals. So, the way I kind of view this is you have goals and then KPIs, so key performance indicators that are much more measurable. The goals are broader, organizationally based. And I'm sure Graham kind of got into this, but, the original strategic plan for the organization had a lot of KPIs. I think several hundred, which were in most cases operational. So they should be measured, but they should be measured in the context of a work plan, not as a governance KPI. So these are more governance oriented. So they're more for your role overseeing the organization.
May want to just go through these because these are taken from our regional strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think you've all had a chance to give this a quick once over maybe before the meeting today. So I won't spend a ton of time. Yes.
I do have a question. So we just passed a resolution regarding the new solid waste strategy. How does that relate to these goals? Because one of the goals within that strategy is a move towards net zero for the landfill. Should that be considered one of the community goals?
I think it could be, certainly. I think that's one to consider as an addition.
Thank you.
Good, yeah.
So again, we're trying to, and these are more like, how do we find alignment with municipalities? How do we make sure there's value for you as members of the FRSC, as municipalities? How do we find collaboration? How do we, make it cheaper? Improve the service? It's not super complicated at the end of the day. So you want, sustainable and efficient solid waste management is the ultimate goal. And how we get at that, we explore deeper in the KPIs, and then the next layer down is the work plan evaluation. And in terms of regional facilities, I know this one's a bit trickier, but what you want is clear value for the municipalities, your support of the regional facilities. We want to create, a great environment of cultural activities and recreational facilities and so forth. And, this region really does a great job at that. But there's a cost for some of those things, and we want to make sure that's kind of allocated fairly. And that the organizations, the facilities themselves can generate more revenue, and that we can source more revenue from outside the region to kind of make it cheaper for you folks.
Alan, would it be possible to get to the key performance indicator section?
Sure.
We're going to go through each of these anyway at the key performance indicators. So it just might get quite lengthy, but I suspect we'll just assume this is just taken from our regional strategy. So there's nothing new here. We're just grabbing from what was there before.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get to the meat of it. So before we get into the KPIs themselves, there are obviously a number of factors that influence the results that are, beyond your control, beyond the FRSC's control. Federal and provincial budgets. We had a federal budget this week. Some good news, maybe some bad news in there. We're not quite sure yet. It's probably a bit of a mixed bag. But those budget allocations, we're takers on that. So we don't necessarily influence that. Consumer behavior. So are people going to events? Are they composting? Are they doing a host of things that have impact on the outcomes? There's a number here that I would call, I guess, less diplomatically Trump factors in terms of trade, in terms of visitation, in terms of the kind of global macroeconomic environment. How is that all going? How does that influence what's happening here in the region? Federal immigration policies, again, we saw in the budget that those numbers are going down. That will have an impact. And then again, the level of collaboration from communities within the FRSC, how we work together will influence some of these outcomes as well. So again, not to avoid accountability, just to put it in context that the FRSC doesn't have control over every single outcome as much as we would love it to. So we'll start with kind of administration and governance. So, I think a key one here is progress made on completion of the regional strategy items. And that's something that would be measured annually. You'll see some of these are measured annually because the data is more appropriate on an annual basis. Some of them are measured quarterly. Quarterly and annual assessment of operating surplus and deficit overall, so across the organization, and then by mandate level. So are we, operating within our budget allocations? The total value of cost savings or new revenue sourced through internal continuous improvement efforts measured annually. So how much money are we attracting or saving to the region? Number of intergovernmental forums or collaboration sessions, again, measured quarterly. Communications, I think, is a key role. So social media engagement, newsletter, open usage, website unique visits, and so forth. And then establishing the benchmarks for service quality. So here, this is where we would look at solid waste in particular, and the planning, community land planning. Creating surveys of customers to understand how are they valuing the service? What do they see as good? What do they see as areas for improvement? Is there value added? What is the processing speed? Things like that. So we would set up a specialized customer service survey. Working with that benchmark data, we would establish targets for 2027. Any questions on this?
Not a question, but a comment, Alan. Just the total value dollar value of cost savings, I think is a really important one and should be related also to the member municipalities, because so far, all we've seen is costs increase going into the service commission. So I think that's one we've been talking about very considerably. And that's really good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Good,
Good. Moving on.
moving on. You got 4 minutes.
All right, I can do it. Solid waste management, these come from the facility themselves, so I don't think there's anything shocking here. We're measuring the volume in, we're measuring recycling and composting. We're looking at incidents, so environmental incidents, reportable complaints. We're looking at public education with measured quarterly. Recollect usage measured quarterly, and again, 80% completion of work plan items measured quarterly. You're going to see that in all 80% completion. That's a target across all mandate areas. Good, I'll take those approval. Community planning and building inspection, again, a customer facing one. So what are the number of applications processed annually? What are the number of development applications processed annually? The amount of revenue generated for members measured quarterly. Again, the 80% completion of work plan items. Regional facilities. This one is quite specific. The percentage increase in cost recovery from facility operations year over year. So how much are they able to pay for themselves? What is the revenue diversification rate? So the percentage of revenue from non-municipal sources, including grants, partnerships, sponsorships, and that would be measured annually. Operating costs per square foot compared to industry benchmarks. So we look at national benchmarks for that. The regional usage rate per facility measured quarterly. So that would look at each attendance from each of your respective municipalities, each community. Facility booking rate. So the percentage of available time slots booked. So how often is the facility being used? I think that's a better measure than attendance, because attendance is kind of depends on what they book, but we want them booking. And then again, 80% completion of work plan items. Folks comfortable with that?
Question?
Yes.
Question? Yes. How do you measure regional usage rate per facility based on the usage by the different entities without the facility tracking the users?
So the goal, I think we would work with the facilities on that, but the goal would be to do representative surveys of people coming in and asking them where they're from, either by postal code or by community. So we would get that direct data and hopefully do it enough to measure it and kind of extrapolate and say this represents what we think is a fair assessment of regional usage. So it would have to be, it would require some direct data.
Some facilities actually track users now, but others do not, and we do not require that.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe that's true. Yeah.
We, some have, and everybody's moving towards right now. So, it will not be complete. Like there's some stuff that are very difficult to do, like the drop-in swim at the aquatic center would create a little bit of chaos. They don't have the system yet for it, but we've asked them to continue. Simply creating a convention center, that's one's complicated. How do you get conference delegates tracked by Aircode? But the software for TV station has been upgraded, and we'll be able to get some data from them. So I think we're going to continue to push the facilities to that and require that they do collect some form, and then this will have to be, the caveat will be, this is not complete. This is, this is what this accounts for. It's not a full every body in the building. It will be this program or this service.
So economic development and tourism, these are directly from Envision St. John's. I won't speak too much to these, but I'm sure you folks have seen the strategic plan that Envision's done recently. It was very well done, in my view. So this is the numbers directly from them. So I won't spend any more time on that. I'm sure Andrew Beck has spoken to you about them. Community development, and this is one where obviously it's light, and we need other KPIs based on the 2026 work plan. This is one I would say we struggled a little bit because of variety of what's done and the nature of measurement and so forth. But, you know, the number of engagement sessions, or training within community in hours, I think is an important metric. And the usage of urban-rural rides, so the kilometers driven, number of rides, number of volunteers, measured quarterly. We have that one cross-listed as well with regional transportation. So Phil will come back with some other KPIs based on the 2026 plan as that works out. Regional transportation, training and ridership, including demonstration projects. What we want to do is piggyback on some data that DTI usually does to measure vehicles traveling on key routes. So coming in and out of the city on key routes, they measure that annually. So we'd like to leverage that data. Has the benefit of not being a cost to us as well. And then again, the rides, the usage of the urban rural rides. And there may be some others added here from the work plan as well, but this is a little substantive. Public safety, again, we need more here, but the number of initiatives, engagement, and training sessions involving 2 or more municipalities measured quarterly. So how much regional collaboration are we sparking and the completion of the work plan items. So next steps, I think Graham mentioned this at the outset. Obviously, this is presented for contemplation, not approval today. We're certainly open for feedback as you have some time to absorb and consider this. This with the committee members as well. We will make any revisions necessary and bring back another version in December at your December board meeting for voting.
Perfect. Thank you.
4 minutes.
That's pretty well it. Yeah, good job. All right, is there any comments or questions on this presentation? You do need receiving file. Moved by Libby, second by Brittany. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? From Carrie. Thank you, Graham. Graham, thank you, Alan. All right. We've done the visit St. John. Right? Yeah, so we have 2 agendas attached to the receiving file that we could. Both from the same time. Nancy and Libby. Moved by Nancy, second by Libby. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. New business? See any?
I have some.
Okay,
I just want to thank the members for a real good opportunity to represent my rural district, but I cannot continue to participate when this commission continues to disregard the law and act outside its legislation. This bylaw that was just passed is a real good example. The procedural bylaw attempts to stifle and suppress free speech. I cannot represent my constituents when my right to express opinions is stifled by a bylaw. And so this environment has been actually very difficult for the past year. Previous years, it was excellent with good collaboration, cooperation. But this year has demonstrated that this commission continues to deny fundamental justice, procedural fairness, and ignore the rules of natural justice. So I hereby resign from my position on their board. Thank you.
all right. Duly noted.
Noted.
Thank you. So all in favor? Oh, no, that was,
That's not a motion.
no, that was the motion, sorry. Or I was past that. Yeah, it was correspondence, yeah. So that was already done, right?
We did these
These.
agendas. This corresponds to receive and file.
Yeah. Can I entertain a motion for these correspondence, please? Moved by Brittany, second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Wait, Libby and then Brittany. Thank you.